Today we're going to look at power. Power is the name of the game today. When I pulled through what information needed to be expressed, it opened up power. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the power over power dynamics that we've created within our family and within our generations. And what came through specifically was the patriarchy versus matriarchy. And when I connected in, what came through was tradition, recent traditions. As in the male or patriarchy, men and boys having different privileges and are being treated different. So when we look at the aspect from a woman's point of view, there's some elements of worthiness in there. As women, as reclaiming our power, as finding our voice as women, allowing ourselves to be feminine. Because if we were conditioned to be more masculine, then there was more acceptance for us. That we would be loved more. Which ultimately becomes a power struggle, a hierarchy that we run up against. But here's the thing. We are coming into a new age where more women will be in power. More women will have powerful leadership positions. There'll be more women coming together and co-creating without competition. And let me be clear, I'm not striking back at the masculine, but recognizing there's a shift in direction happening. Even though it might be slow, it's still happening. More women will be co-creating without witch woundings, without hiding behind the veils or secrecy or judgment on each other. What is the role of a man and the role of a woman in society? Oftentimes we see men and boys taught different skills than us women. But there's a shift in power. And this shift isn't really necessarily about power. This will be about creating balance within power. Both men and women have these program structures built in them. And let's look again at the male perspective. They are taught that it's all on them to support their families. It's their job, which results in a whole lot of pressure. Feelings of the weight of the world sitting on their shoulders, burdens. So this clearing today, some of you may have anger come directed towards men. What they should or shouldn't do, what they should say. And what I want to say is just acknowledge it. And have an awareness of where it comes from, where it sits in the body, and what is required to be healed. But also remember that we are healing our lineages, our maternal lines. So what you're feeling may not even be yours. How many times have you had a desire, maybe a desire to travel, to spend money, to make decisions, and you had to ask if you were allowed by our male counterparts? even if it was a long time ago. We often tell ourselves that it's cordial to include men in our decisions. So as we move into this clearing, again, I'm going to ask you to notice any grief, any anger, any feelings of sadness, of powerlessness, of helplessness. And if these emotions begin to come up within you, just allow them to process. Ask yourself, is this even mine? And ask if it can be released out of the mind, the body, and the spirit. We're going to move through and throughout as much as we can, all the way down our maternal lines. And for some of you, this may hit really deep. Some of you, there may be a little bit of resistance. This doesn't fit. Or maybe it does. What I would like for you to do today is to set an intention to stay within the body. So that when we do the clearing statements, when I say the repeat after me, we're going to allow that process to continue so that it can come full circle and full circle within your maternal lines. So settle in and set the intention to be fully present. And begin to take some breaths through the nose and out through the mouth. And again, inhale, exhale, sigh it out. And again, breathing in nice and deep all the way down to the bottom of the belly. Exhaling to release. Allowing that breath to travel all the way up from the belly so that it can rise to the surface. And I invite you now to begin to clear using your breath. Using that exhale with an audible sigh. Even with a little bit of force, as things begin to start to move. You can use the term ha, H-A, ha, if you want to be a little bit more deliberate. Ha. As this begins to activate the throat space, that vagus nerve, the space in which you authentically share your truth. You may need to speak, you may need to use that ha with force. Some of you may even need to scream. And that's the beauty of being in your own space. You can allow this energy to begin to flow out of you in whatever way, shape, or form it has to come out. Providing your body, your mind, and your spirit with whatever it needs. And in order for us to do this work, in order for us to heal this program. So today may feel a little bit more visceral for you, and that's okay. Allow yourself to be open and ready to receive as we begin to call forward any of your blocks, any of your barriers, any of your protection mechanisms. And we say yes to them. We acknowledge them, and we begin to release them out of the mind, out of the body, and out of the spirit. Barriers down, barriers down, barriers down. On all levels, all layers, and all lifetimes, barriers down. And take a moment here and notice what you're noticing. Any death programming, any barriers, any projections, protections that you may have set in place, any distortions, distractions, resistance, procrastination. Maybe there's anxiety. Maybe you're trying to draw this to the logical mind so that it makes sense. Disconnections, distortions. disassociations, and disembodiment. Allow it to leave the body. Call yourself back. Call yourself back and set the intention that you will not sleep. You will not leave your body. You will not disconnect today. And everything that brings up is destroyed and uncreated on every level, every layer, and every lifetime. And repeat after me. I give myself permission to receive this work. Even though I'm afraid I might not recognize who I am. I give myself permission to receive this work, even though I'm afraid of what might happen. I give myself permission to receive this work, even though I'm afraid that I might come to know what I know. Take a nice deep breath in. Exhale, sigh it out. Barriers down, barriers down, barriers down. On all levels, all layers, and all lifetimes, barriers down. Spirit and I are one, and we work together as a team. It is my intention to be a clear and neutral channel for the high self and for your spirit today. And as we begin to prep to work, please clear and remove any and all blocking programs, any openings, interferences, and negative energy. Permanently seal all cracks, openings, portals, and fill with love and golden light. And please clear and remove any extra souls, any addictions to extra souls, and set up a triple layer of protection. Interesting that come forward first. So please clear and remove any extra links in our high self community chains, and please clear, elevate, and educate all your spiritual committees, including the high self, to the highest level of consciousness. Please reassign any committee members who are not ready, willing, and able to support 100% positive and 0% negative change. And please update and download all your spiritual committees with new education, new wisdom, new knowledge, new information, truth, light, understanding, and the potential in one universe, as well as the entire star system. Provide yourself with the intellect required to clear all negative programming and establish them with a new plan that's based on everything positive. Please reduce the size of your spiritual committees to the minimum size for the maximum effect, clearing all bodies of negative programming. And reducing all portals and gateways down to one. Please clear any and all programs that we've created with our spirit, including replications, mirroring images, and rebuilding. And please reduce our egos to the minimum level required to facilitate this clearing, more than 0 and not to exceed 3%. Suspend all judgment and keep me 100% neutral. Please clear and remove any extra souls, any addictions to extra souls, and set up a triple layer of protection around each and every one of us, as well as anybody in the vicinity of us doing this work. We don't want any travelers. And are we prepped to work? Yes, here we go. So do I have permission to do this work within this container? And the answer is no. So I'm going to ask that we begin to clear any self-punishment, any benefit programs that may be operating for anyone in this group, anyone hearing this on a replay. I'm going to ask that we clear any self-punishment programs and benefit programs within our maternal line that we may be operating. So take a nice deep breath in here. Exhale, sigh it out, and don't worry about it if it's you or if it's not you. It doesn't matter. And begin to notice what you're noticing. Any emotions that may be arising, any agitation, any fidgeting. I'm noticing this real strong energy. It's starting to rise up from the sacral and the solar plexus area and into the lung and the large intestine meridians, into the breath and all the way up to the top of the head. I'm also noticing there may be a shortness of breath, a version of energy that is coming, that is participating. It may be showing up as anxiety or excitement because there's no right or wrong here. There's no right or wrong. This anxiety may be going one step further and is showing up as a fear, both consciously and unconsciously fear. What am I no longer willing to digest? What am I no longer willing to digest within that maternal line? What am I no longer willing to tolerate or to stuff down for myself and for my maternal line, for my mother, my grandmother, and all the women in your maternal line? What am I no longer willing to digest? So anywhere and everywhere that you have ever believed that you've had to stuff it down or to hold on to it or to keep it at bay, anywhere you've had to soften, I'm going to ask that we destroy and uncreate that on every level, every layer, and every lifetime. Bringing it out of all levels, all layers, and all minds, all fields, all compartments, bringing them out of all your 13 bodies, all your spiritual committees, right back to the heart of your spirit. And I'm going to ask that the guidance teams, our soul family, our star family, any of the healers within your lineage, I'm going to ask that they come through and support you at this time. All of those that serve Creator and serve humanity, I'm going to ask for their help to move through your large intestines, to move through your digestive tract, and to release anywhere and everywhere that you've been holding on to anger, to rage, to fear, to anxiety, to threat, to survival, to smallness, to disempowerment, to helplessness, to not having permission. And to clear anything else that may be coming up in your field at this time. To clear anywhere and everywhere that you have been hiding to ensure that you are safe, to ensure that you survive, to ensure that you are taken care of or provided for, in order to ensure to not become extinct. Anywhere and everywhere that you or me or our maternal lines have ever believed that we've had to swallow it in order to ensure that you and your descendants and your maternal line does not become extinct. And we will destroy that on every level, every layer, and every lifetime, and return it for whence it came, out of your mind, out of your body, and out of your spirit. And allow that to trickle down all the way to your mothers, to your grandmothers, and to your daughters. Breathe that in. And thank you. Is that done? Yes. And where are we going? Do I have permission to work in this group? And the answer is yes. So who am I currently working with? The high self. And are all our spiritual committees the minimum size for the maximum effect? Yes. So I'm going to begin with a real-time clearing anything and everything that can be cleared for us as a group at this time, without research. As well as to clear anything that may have arose since we started today's work. To clear anything that's coming up in conversation. I'm going to ask for this real-time clearing to clear everything within our maternal lines, to clear any cobwebs, any rubble, any debris, any leftovers, clearing out root, trunk, and seed. Clear them out of all levels, all layers, all minds, all fields, all compartments. Clear it out of all your 13 bodies, all your spiritual committees, right back to the heart of your spirit. Begin to soften where you can soften. And begin to breathe a little deeper into the lungs, into the space of the chest, and into that body. And begin to imagine or visualize this beautiful ball of white light. And notice what at every breath you take, it begins to expand. Expand across your entire cavity, all your organs, the lungs, throughout the stomach, the kidneys, the spleen, the gallbladder, rising all the way up to the heart, all the way through the respiratory system. And this beautiful white energy begins to soften your system and expands into your system as you breathe in again. As it begins to move in all the spaces and places where you require healing. Any spaces and places where repressed emotions live. These spaces where anger resides, the spaces where rage resides, keeping it hidden. Any spaces there is sadness or grief, any spaces and places that we've lost our identity, and those places we've kept ourselves hidden so that we can stay safe in order to survive. And all the ways that you've chosen that, in order to ensure that you could just be here is destroyed and uncreated on every level, every layer, and every lifetime. And it's returned to which it came. It's returned out of your mind, your body, your fields, and your spirit. And take a moment and send that all the way down your maternal line. Allow it to trickle before it flows through the right side of your body, through the left side of your body. Allow it to flow to all the ancestors in your maternal line that have stepped forward in that opening ceremony to support you. As it begins to create this domino effect, like water rushing over, sending it all the way back to them. And thank you. Is that done? Yeah. So Spirit, we are looking to clear power in our maternal lines. Power over power hierarchies that were once created. Clear any of the spaces and places that we are conditioned to a patriarchy, or we are conditioned to a patriarchy, and declare anywhere and everywhere there are still programs, blocks, discordant energy, vows, oath, contracts, anything else by any other name that will keep us from bringing our world, our spirit, our experience into divine balance, and to seek a sacred union between the masculine and feminine within us. And then allow it to dripple and ripple all the way back through the generations of our maternal line. To release any of the ties that bind from the power over power grids. To clear anything that would be stopping us from stepping forward into a new paradigm of divine balance and sacred union between the masculine and feminine, between men and women. And I'm going to first ask that we clear hurt within us so that we may recognize that this starts with us. I'm going to ask that we go into the files, into the records, and clear any of the oaths, any of the vows, any of the contracts that may be keeping us in place, keeping us in a pattern of looping within us, keeping us in the program of aloof within our families. Because it's a desire within that sacred union. The desire is to set us all free. Not just the women, but the men, and further into humanity. To create balance within humanity. And thank you. Is that done? And where are we going first? We're going into the program of power. And it can be cleared without research at this time. So please clear the energy in the program of power, root, trunk, and seed. Clear them out of all levels, all layers, all minds, all fields, all compartments. Clear them out of all your 13 bodies, all your spiritual committees, and right back to the heart of your spirit. So what I'm hearing is that we need to clear the power within us first. To clear all the spaces and places that we are holding on to the debris, the performance, the programs, the old systems that we don't want or no longer want to be in. Anywhere that we are still plugged into this patriarchy, anywhere and everywhere that we may be plugged into a matriarchy just, in a traditional historical sense. And so what I'm seeing, and it's coming in super fast, so what I'm seeing right now is Egypt. And what I'm seeing is that we were sitting in a patriarchy. We are sitting in the results of a patriarchy. In this lifetime. But we've also experienced the opposite. Each and every one of us have had lifetimes where we experienced this matriarchy. where women ruled the world, where women were revered, women were in positions of power, women made the decisions, and where women killed, where women pillaged, where women were the warriors. And of all those times that we were looking at from the spaces and places, this historical patriarchy, or from the men, and we were sitting in the space of victim, it happened to us. But what Spirit is wanting me to say is that there's this karma. Yes, it happened to us, but we were not the victims. Not just victims. We played the opposite role. We played that opposite role. And as karma moves through these cycles, as we've experienced both in multiple lifetimes, and because Egypt is coming through so strong, it's wanting me to speak so fast when I'm trying to slow this down. So I'm going to call in the presence of Isis, the presence of Mate, the presence of Hathor, of Bast. And I'm going to call forward all the elements of ancient Egypt on the feminine side. But I'm also going to call all the elements of the masculine, Thoth, Osiris from Egypt. And what I'm being shown is this golden snake as it begins to move up and gently down the spine, creating the spiral as it begins to move up towards the crown. And that spiral begins to move down towards the root, that Shivi and Shakti energy, the mergence of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Shkia kakashmaria shakodnoya shadoya. Kakonga kogaya na shakotoya shamama shakotuyu. Shia kakakaya shinino ashwatavaya aichia. Husa, husa, husa. Shkia kakakashatoya shanonai. O kakacho osa osa. O kaiso noya. Kia kakakashina noya. Osa, osa, osa. Kia kakaksamanoya. Utuaya sotondo. Kyokasa no. Joy no noya so. Kia kasa nanya. Utoya shanama yudo. Kia kasa no doya shadoya fa. Shia. Kia koko shana noya shato doya shadudwa. Oshotoya. Haka. Haka. Shkotono in Shkodoyo. Ochayo Chujia. Ochacho to die. You may need to begin to adjust your body. And thank you. Is that done? Yes. Is the program of power cleared at this time? And the answer is yes. So where are we going next? We're going to head right into the Akashic records. I'm going to ask that we begin with this program of the experience and trauma, and it was established within transition. It has these past life roots within it. So this transition could represent a few things: a death, an experience of death in a past life, a major shift, transmission, or a transformation in your present life. It can also represent a planned death in a future life. So there's two characters in this program, and I want you to begin to call those two characters forward. And the first character is a daughter, and the second character is a father. Is that correct? And the answer is yes. So what type of father are we working with? We're working with the father of a family. And what type of daughter are we working with? We're working with a student. And again, is it a biological daughter? And the answer is yes. So is this an individual lifetime or in a lifetime of the collective? It's an individual. And who were we in this lifetime? We were the father. Was there hurt or harm in this lifetime? And the answer is yes. And who was harmed in this lifetime? The daughter was harmed at the hands of the father. And there was an emotional harm which resulted in an emotional death. And the reason for this harm I'm hearing is channeling. And this is why there's so much distortion, channeling and healing. And what do we need to know about? Do we need to know anything about this lifetime? And the answer is no. So we're going to begin to collect the energies of this lifetime. I'm going to ask that my guides begin to slow down. The energies are unworthiness, unpredictableness, toxic shame, spiritual suicide, separation, self-limitation, sadness, revenge, resentment, rejection, restlessness, panic, anxiety, murder, malice, self-esteem, judgment, intolerance, hate of women, hate of self, hate of men. Spirit's asking me to take a moment and repeat that word. Hate of men. Hate of men. Hate of men. Hatred. Frustration, guilt, feeling, forsaken fear. I'm going to ask that we begin to clear that out. So please clear these energies out, root, trunk, and seed. Clear them out of all of our levels, all our minds, all fields, all compartments, all the way to the middle of our 13 bodies. All of our spiritual communities, right back to the heart of our spirit. And as these energies begin to clear out, I'm going to ask that we replace them, we alchemize them with openness, worthiness, the forgiveness of self, the forgiveness of others, the forgiveness of women, the forgiveness of men, the forgiveness of Creator, the forgiveness of God, the forgiveness of the soul, the forgiveness of the spirit, forgiveness of our soul families, and forgiveness to the systems and structures of the ties that bind us. These spaces and places that we projected blame, where we projected anger, where we held resentment, where we held hatred, to open you up to connection, to sacred union, to divine balance, to celebration, to limitlessness, to community, to understanding, to positivity, to acceptance, to belonging, to hope, to the love of man and humanity, and to love itself, as well as every other positive word in the largest universal dictionary, regardless of the language. So this lifetime was a lifetime of persecution. It became a lifetime of being sold. And not literal, but be taken, to be handed over to the church in order to be saved. And the end result was being shut down of our gifts, where we were put in line, where we felt powerless. We became in this role of servitude. And from the aspect of the Father, He didn't know any way to keep you safe, or what He thought would be safe. There was a deep desire to love and to protect you no matter what, even if that meant handing you over to have a better life. There was this understanding that something could be taken out of you if you were given over, if you were locked behind closed doors in order to ensure that you were never seen, that your mother was never seen, your grandmothers were never seen for who they really were, as well as the men. And from the experience of the daughter, there was so much fear, there was so much abandonment, there was where you were shunned. where her rights and her freedom were taken away. And the guilt that came from that space of wanting to do the right thing as a parent. As an understanding that each and every one of us in this lifetime we did this simply to be human. And it doesn't make us flawless. And it doesn't make us perfect because we are simply humans. So anywhere and everywhere that you have ever expected the right and perfect things from your family, from our family, from our ancestors, let's destroy and uncreate it on every level, every layer, and every lifetime. And let's bring forward the acknowledgement and the understanding that even though sometimes things don't show up the way we want, or the way we desire, or the way we need it to, sometimes and oftentimes they come from the most beautiful and sacred places. That even though the story of doing the right thing came from a place of love, it came from the place of love in the beginning. Can we expect any more than that when we thought we were doing the right thing? Drop the barriers, drop the stories, drop the old paradigms, and drop those old beliefs so that you can receive and alchemize that love that was given to you. And thank you. Is that done? Thank you. I am receiving this. Thank you. I am receiving this. Thank you. I'm receiving this. Thank you. Is that done? Yes. And is that enough to clear the power program? And the answer is yes. So where are we going next? So take a nice deep breath in. Exhale, sigh it out. And this is where we're going to begin to connect into your lineage. And the theme of today is power. And the duality of that matriarch and patriarchal system. The old system, rather than the sacred union and the divine balance between the masculine and feminine. So take a moment here and ask if there's any cords, any contracts connected to the power of your maternal line. And if you got a yes, are there any emotions connected? There's no right or wrong. And if you got a yes there, I want you to begin to scan your own body and see where it's sitting. See any points that may be anchored to an organ. Anywhere they are anchored in your body. And as though you've been watching a magician pull out scarves out of his sleeves, I'm going to ask that you begin to pull them out of your body, all those emotions. And ask yourself these questions. Is this even mine? As you were pulling those emotions out of the body, those experiences. Is this even mine? And repeat after me. I return this to sender with consciousness attached. I return this to sender with conscious awareness. I return this to sender, consciousness attached. I return this to sender with conscious awareness. Is this even mine? And when that's done, begin to call forward energetically anyone in your maternal line that needs to be involved, that needs to have any of the cords and contracts removed that are holding them in place through the power of this program. Call your ancestral line forward and allow them to energetically surround you, whether there's 1 or 2 or 200. And take a moment to see each one of them. See each one of them as a soul, as a spirit. Look around that entire circle and repeat out loud after me. I see you, I accept you, and I forgive you for all the real and perceived hurts, all the betrayals, wrongdoings, abuses, or transgressions in this lifetime and in all others. Please forgive me. And take a nice deep breath in, exhale, sigh it out. And they're going to respond to you. And as they respond, they begin to move out of that circle and form a line. That line is standing in front of you as each of them receive what you have said. And they say back to you, I see you, I accept you, and I forgive you for all the real and perceived hurts, any wrongdoings, any abuses, any transgressions in this lifetime and in all others. Please forgive me. And one by one, you begin to walk towards each other. And as you do that, you're going to recall all the parts of you. And you're going to return all the parts of them. You may notice the first person, the second person, the third person in your maternal line. You may recognize them. They may be just outlines, energy fields, and that's okay. You don't need to know who it is. And when you're finished, I want you to bring your hands out in front of you. Hold them out in front of you, creating an energetic container. And I want you to take all the emotions and any cords, contracts, control dramas, the interrogator, the victim, the aloof, the intimidator, and move them into your hands. Scoop them all up. And energetically putting your intention in your hands, the timeline where this all began, the point of origin, put it all in your hands, holding it out in front of you. And repeat after me. All the oaths, vows, contracts, all the agreements, curses, black magic, blood magic, clearing. Clearing all the institution programs, the swearing, the faulties, the agreements, the commitments, the analogies, any bindings, any endings, any contracts that any of us have made that are currently stuck to me or my maternal line based on any of these commitments. I recant, I rescind, I revoke, renounce, and I destroy it on every level, every layer, and every lifetime, across all time, spaces, dimensions, realities, right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nines, boys, shorts, and beyonds, and take a nice deep breath in. Exhale, sigh it out. And now you're going to take these energies and all the things that are meant to be here in this time through the records, through your fields, through these containers, to be only used as information that you can access anytime, minus the thoughts, the feelings, and emotions attached to it. Gather up that energy, all of it. And when you feel you've gathered this energy, I want you to clap your hands and dissolve that timeline and close that container. Releasing all the energy that you've collected through this. And take a nice deep breath in. Exhale, sigh it out. Begin to adjust your body. Notice how you feel, what your body needs to integrate this with ease. Ask the body to run a BMM. And ask the body to put itself back on its axes, allowing yourself to reawaken. Please clear 100% of the items on the mop-up list, including all the stats. And I'm going to ask at this time that we clear any accidents, any Alzheimer's, dementia, and any other pre-programmed illnesses that may be running. I'm going to ask that we clear them to 100% to complete brain restructuring. And I'm going to ask the high selves to be in agreement that this has all been cleared. And at this time, we're going to ask your guidance teams, your soul family, your spirit family, that star nation, those deities that we called in here today, Isis, Thoth, Hathor, to walk you forward